Time is your most precious asset. Do not squander it. You cannot buy, beg, or steal more. Spend your time wisely. It's interesting how quickly we surrender our time, and we do that by saying yes to things we really mean no. And one of the things I've learned over time is it's a whole lot easier to add things to your plate than take them off. It's really hard once you've committed yourself to something to release yourself from it. And the problem is we're spending our time in ways where it's not really aligned with our values. So what you've really got to think about for yourself is, am I spending this really precious asset wisely? It's the most crucial asset. I mean, it's a democratic thing. We're only going to get so much time, no matter who you are. You can't beg for more, borrow more, steal more, order more online. You get the time you get. So with that said, I want you to think about all the ways in which you're currently squandering your time. And we all do this to some degree, but think about the things you're giving your time to that you think, I don't want to be on that committee. I don't want to go do that chore, or I don't want to go to that dinner. Why did I say yes to that? And I want you to start learning to say no. And quite frankly, it's interesting. I was doing a workshop once and a woman said, well, I don't really like to say no. I'll say, I can't do this, but I'll do this, or I'll find a way to make an excuse. But I think it's really important that you kind of stand in your power and protect your time. And one of the things I've learned is I do not work on weekends almost ever, with extraordinary rare exception. Now, I write and I do a lot of other things, but I don't see clients. I don't drive to clients. I don't take client calls. And occasionally I make an exception to that when it's really important to them or there's a crisis going on. But for the most part, I don't do that. And what I say to clients is I really protect my weekends. They're very important to me. I have never had one single client not respect that. And part of it is I want them to do the same thing. I want them to protect that asset. I want them to protect their time for themselves, for their families. Whatever life you're living, you want to make sure that you are really using your time in a way that aligns with your values. So I want you to look at all the extracurricular things you have going on, and I want you to say to yourself, is this bringing me closer or further away from my values? Is this where I want to be spending my time? And maybe you want to be spending your time painting, or if you have a family, with your family, or if you have a partner, with your partner. And I want you to look at your week. I want you to go through the last month's calendar. And I want you to look at every single extracurricular thing that's there. And I want you to highlight every single thing that you really either didn't want to do or need to do. And think about what you could have done with that time. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to add up all of that time that you spent doing things you really didn't want to do, and then you're going to think about what would you have used that time for that would have been more aligned with your values, that got you closer to your decadent dream, closer to the life you really want to live. So you've got to go back in your calendar in the last month and look at all of those things that you committed to, write them all down or highlight them, add them all up, and figure out how you might have spent that time differently. And in the next month, start being much more judicious, much more careful about when you say yes, and when you need to, just say no.